Hello everyone, Mr.CanKnotNot here, and you might be wondering why my channel avatar changed, and simply put, I'm tired. I am frustrated. I am done all the way around. Forget the individual companies. Forget the individual instances of government greed. Forget everything that has been talked about, whether it be Roblox or Minecraft changing their policies, and we can just go down the list. Let's take a step back while looking at the issue of the tree within the forest. We're far beyond one tree falling out in the middle of the woods miles away from anyone. Right now, the entirety of the forest is being forcefully cut down. And you might be wondering, why am I making this analogy? Why is this even something that is a forefront or a concern? Well, let's take a look at all these instances combined, shall we? YouTube is forcing ID verification for children, or supposed children. People that have had their channels for years now automatically goes over and loses their access to making content. The amount of content you can get access to completely revoked. Well, there are things that I actually would love to have on my account, like not having personalized ads, to not constantly be tracked, to feel like every aspect of my life is already in some cabinet within some network that a company can go over and exploit. I'm done. Okay, well, YouTube. I said not to just focus on YouTube. What are the other issues? Well, let's hit another one that's more prevalent nowadays, Roblox. They're just allowing and have allowed for ages inappropriate content that kids can just readily get access to. In fact, I'll link down below in the description. It is not for anyone that is below the age of 18. That is the disclaimer. I talk about things that are sensitive, and there's a reason why it's not on YouTube to begin with. But I do recommend, if you are of age, to at least listen to my story. Hear what I have to say and talk. We need to be discussing things, not just harboring things. Because these issues, where one might say they are trivial, are a lot worse than you might think. Okay, what other situations can I name? Minecraft constantly changing their policies without telling anyone anything. And that's Microsoft now. Be very mindful of that. Microsoft bought out Mojang. That's Microsoft. YouTube, that's Google. Google's allowing this to happen. Well, what about art sites? Well, I mean, when you have pretty much any art site allowing adult-themed content in the guise of art, while allowing children to be commissioned out to draw whatever someone pays them to draw, you start to have issues. What is a connecting factor between all of these things? Well, TikTok has the same issue as any of the social media platforms. Same thing with Instagram, Facebook. Shoot, even X, aka Twitter. You go through and you look at these things and you start to just realize that they're the same issues. Kids being in contact with adults. Facebook should be held accountable for for allowing sex offenders to be put in contact with children, allowing platforms that readily make this connection larger. They're so concerned about these data collections, about censorship, about all these different things. They'll allow some things but not others. But why is this? When I had made that video that I have linked below, I wasn't expecting to end up being in an instance where there was a bunch of kids harassing people and the youngest sounding one out of that group started posting NSFW content. They just kept going and going and going. How is that uploaded to the network to begin with? Why was it not a surprise that when the kid had sent the first one, that the second one, the third one, all of the other content, even the stuff that their friends was sending and saying, didn't surprise me? It sickens me. But it doesn't surprise me. And listen, I get everyone's going to be hearing this and being saying, "What? You're calling for censorship. You're calling for this. You're calling for that." Let's just call it what it is. Let's stop throwing on masks and facades to go over and act like we have this high ground, that we're taking a stance against something while we're arguing against the main point and the concerns that we had in the first place. Facebook has allowed this stuff to continue. Valve is not stepping up and making sure their user safety is there. They are 100% making sure that people can post what they want to. Valve is responsible to make sure there's no illegal content on their platform, but that's a bit of a different statement. Valve, from what I've seen, is a publisher or a platform, but they stick to their lane. They speak up for their users. They do what they need to, and where I do have some gripes every now and again, it just really isn't that big of a deal. The biggest issue, though, is what's happening. In the EU, they're pushing for this age verification. Discord, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok. I don't know exactly which filter or which groups are using these filters, but it's happening. But at the same time, why are we not seeing a blacklist for content? Why are we not seeing a blacklist for NSFW content? Why are we still seeing adult sites allowing themselves to just persist while all they have is a pointless button that might as well be a placebo saying if you're 18 or older, you can enter? Put in a few numbers. The date, okay, I can see, someone being honest. Someone who's younger, unaware, is going to kind of throw in a date without paying attention. That's going to be a little better than the button, but it still doesn't quite do anything. These adult sites are objectifying people. They are breaking down morality while going over and serving a poison. And the thing is that adult content like that is explicitly dangerous. It's harmful. It's like doing drugs, to the point where the dopamine and all this other stuff becomes more and more addicting, and then you're hooked on it. Why is it something we're allowed? Why is it that in the vaults of information, that is something that's allowed? And if someone's going to argue in the comments that for art stuff, well, it's for realism, it's artistic. No, there's a distinction between the two. One is to elicit a reaction, the other is for realism. And I'm not saying that, oh, well, I'll justify my artwork by saying that it's a realistic sex scene. No. There's no justifying it. If you have to find a justification, you automatically know what it is that you're doing wrong. Well, you might be asking, where else is this going? What's the biggest issues? Well, age verification for sites that are backhanded, two-faced, lying, going over and forcing data collection. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if this is something that is going to be used for censorship. It's going to be used to silence people that say things that people don't like. And unfortunately, everyone else is going to have to deal with the repercussions of those actions. And you might be saying, well, obviously this can't affect me. One of the biggest issues with adult content being given out is that it's always the teens. It always is. YouTube is guilty of this. As soon as you're 18, it's you could see whatever you want to. The mind isn't fully developed, so why are we allowing it? They're backhanded. They're allowing pornographic and adult content on their platforms while going over and saying that they're abiding within some form of safeguard, that they're somehow doing justice to the community. Meanwhile, allowing people who have not been able to make distinctions or, decipher between things post sexually explicit or fetish content just because they see fit. And the thing is that I know this video, when on YouTube, is going to get censored. So I'm also going to be posting it on Rumble as well. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of these games. How much further are we going to look into the abyss and say what's going on is good? They're backhanded. They're allowing things that they say they shouldn't. They are avidly allowing things that goes against their own guidelines. And in many cases say that there's human vetting taking place, which is just not true. Hasn't been. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is human verification. But at that point, we need to go over and ask what these teams are actually looking at. Are they getting what they're allowing on the platform? Or are they seeing something different? Is there some weird bypass? Is there some shift in media? Well, we allowed the advertisement and they edited it, so we're not going to look at it again because it's probably just a rework of the original ad. How much further do you go in seeing these changes and saying, well, let's review it again? It's backhanded. Our rights to have our security, our ability to say and do what we want to without having to worry about certain things shouldn't be that big of an issue. Many times, these people, will also go over and be justifying criminal activity. Well, you don't want stuff because you're clearly no. Would you want someone sitting around your house 24/7 without your consent and in private moments waltzing on in and listening to what's being said? And a storehouse of data presented to go over and make it seem like everything is fine. To make it seem like we're somehow getting somewhere. To make it seem like everything is going to go as intended. We'd be lying to ourselves if that was the case. Roblox for years has allowed said content. Their UGC has had stuff. Their t-shirts, which is something that anyone could have originally uploaded, has stuff like bras and skimpy outfits. And you can go down the list and nothing changes at all. You might be wondering, how does this even affect what is or will be? How do you go over and expect everyone to sit by the wayside and treat this like it's some form of joke? It's ridiculous. It's sickening. It's repulsive. So, what happens? What happens? Are we really seeing an age of security? Are we seeing genuine care from governance? Do we see anything that's going to spark change? Because the adult sites are allowing illegal activity and nothing happens. I don't see the EU banning these sites. I don't see anyone banning those contexts. Well, but there's millions of users and people are going to make alt accounts and this and that. Why are we worried about it? It either is or it isn't. If there's a problem, quit hiding like cowards. If there's not a problem, then why are people getting hurt? And why are pedophiles allowed to continue to thrive? Why is it that criminals can use your platforms and your systems to go over and get what they want? How many more times are we going to see people going in with a GoPro, live streaming to a social media platform, them committing a crime and killing people? And only minutes, if not hours after it's been up, then it gets removed. Why is it that communities of illegal activities are allowed to thrive in the first place? Why is it? I gotta ask, why do we think it's acceptable for these things to happen? Why do we find it acceptable that pedophiles can go over and just roam freely and they can brazenly say, I'm a pedophile, I was a pedophile, meanwhile doing the same stinking thing every single time? If someone's a sex offender, they should not have access to any tool that will allow them to get in contact with children. Just like they're not allowed to go door to door and knock, or they're not allowed to go over and move into an area without telling everyone what it is that they've done. Those people should not be allowed to get technology that puts them closer to children. They shouldn't. They shouldn't be within administrative systems. They shouldn't be going over and making a determinative call on what is or isn't acceptable. They shouldn't have any form of power in any context, because all they are going to do is justify what they have done. They could care less about what is or isn't acceptable. They just want what they want, and there's going to be no changing it. How much are we going to lose before we, as a society, as societies, wake up? How is it that there are entire groups that are now infamous that are still thriving today? Discord, why are you allowing groups of pedophiles to make servers and when they're reported, do nothing? Roblox, why is it you brazenly are allowing this content and have allowed it for ages? You slap a search filter on it, but you don't ban the instances. The bandage will not fix the wound. It never will. YouTube with the COPPA settlement. That was the easiest cop-out I've ever seen. Well, it's the user's fault for going over and submitting it, but we're a publisher, so we're going to have and take portions of the money. We're going to take these protections and mix them together. Pick a lane, YouTube. Pick a lane. Facebook, Sony, LMG, General Mills Electronics. Why are you listening in to our voices? Why are you watching our every move? Why do we have to agree to have external interactions done? Why do we need to link things to your servers in order to use a basic product that was able to function normally as it had prior? Is it because you're saying it's for security and that you care? Then why does everyone need to agree to it? Why is it that, these people are allowed to continue doing what they're doing? Signs are evident when stuff happens, when stuff hits the fan. Why is it that we can go through and say that, oh, well, we're fine doing this. We've agreed. We've already written away our rights. So what's another document? What's another signature saying that they can do whatever they want to? Who cares? Who genuinely would care about these, little things happening? And the craziest thing is everyone's like, well, TikTok's the death of civility. Well, how many people are actually willing to discuss what's being said? How many times in these, festivals for inclusion are people allowed to go over and say something that contradicts things that are happening? Why is it that companies for the longest time were pushing the narratives? It's for inclusion. It's normal to see these things. It's acceptable to have these things like that. Why is that the case? Why? Why can we not have discussions anymore? Why can we not have any form of civility? Why can we not disagree on things? The issue? It's not making them enough money. As I said within the other video, the dollar sign is the corporate god, and the sacrifice is everyone's free will. It is the innocence of the youth. We have a bunch of teens running around going over and saying that making sexual jokes and remarks is a normality. We have people going around saying that, everything is one way or the other, but then automatically it's hateful to say, hey, that's not right. That's wrong. You have this, you have that. It just keeps going. It feeds into itself. This thought process just completely breaks down every single time without change. There's no fixing it because there's nothing wrong in so many people's eyes. I'm going to go over and now insert some footage of what happened shortly after I made that video. It blows my mind that people like that can still be just fine. We're gonna sit here and act like there's no issues. We're gonna sit here and act like there's no problem, that there's no such thing as mental illness. There's nothing that could impair thought processes. There's nothing to say that there is right and wrong. I want you to see and tell me if that is something you would want your kids to experience. You tell me if that is something that you would want your kids to be around. And I am going to censor one of the clips because there is NSFW content involved. But just be forewarned that with this being said, there's another issue that arises.
$20 cash app.
You gotta double down, bro. You gotta be worse. Alright, start being hella racist, dude.
That's not, dude, no.
Oh no, we're being racist! That's not
Look, guys, it was a year ago, okay? And I'm not gonna become racist just because I used to be a pedophile. Doesn't mean I will be racist.
Dora the Explorer!
I feel like you're going around with that above your head is
that's not
from people
that's
being
not
angry
gonna
at
do
you.
anything, dude. Like, I'm gonna be honest.
I'm gonna show the people are gonna see that I'm not a bangor anymore, and I will accept it.
One of the people I literally have stated I can't forgive in my life are pedophiles, so I'm unfortunately sorry for you.
Here's the thing.
But I'm not a pedo anymore. Let me listen. I was a child that I used to do this stuff with. I talked to them. I gave them $20 cash
There's
back
nothing in
money.
your brain that tells you you should like kids but you. That's your fault.
And listen,
That's
good on you that
literally
you're
your
trying
fault.
to
No,
improve.
they were enticing me, and they were really immature.
I'm telling you, dude says that he improves and he never improves.
Hello, I
That's
used
disgusting.
to be. I used to be.
You're just using a baby
Okay.
excuse because you can't man up for yourself and actually
Listen.
take consequences.
You're
Yeah, exactly.
pissing me
Fuck you,
off.
man. You
Don't
comment on
be
yourself, you
talking,
fucking
boy.
bitch.
Don't be talking, boy.
Then I reached out to call you.
Calm down. Calm down.
It's great. It's great you're trying to turn a new
If you
leaf.
guys don't want me to claim my good name,
Okay,
You
here's the
can't.
thing.
Okay, you can't plead a good name.
You
Wait,
can't
what?
say
Hey,
that
yo,
nothing
what's going on?
happened because of everything that's
What?
happened.
Wait,
Like,
what if I
you
had something
can't
here
do
real
that.
quick?
If it's not
Forget what
serious,
Celestial's posted.
No, I'm actually being
Forget what
super serious
Celestial's
right now.
posted. The footage
When your heart
itself,
feels like December.
anything else that's
When
happened,
nobody knows
goes
your
right out the
name.
window.
excuse
When
me,
I reach out to
bitch.
call you.
Okay,
She
no, no, no,
fucked
no,
up
no, no,
my
no, no,
will
no.
one
for
day.
nothing.
Okay,
For
no, no,
nothing.
hear me
She
out.
has
Hear
to
me
do my
out.
life
Hear me
for
for a second.
nothing.
Hear me for a second.
And everything will
for a
be
second.
alright. Toast them
Okay.
up.
Might not be accurate.
Celestial is a piece of shit, you know what?
Did he used to be a
Why?
hazard
I
of
need to ask you why.
Again.
Why?
I'm gonna keep the jaw, and I'm
Wait,
gonna
is this guy a
harm
pedophile? Wait, is this guy a pedophile?
Worried about
Yeah.
you.
Mr. Can's kind of kicking here. You see this guy? He's a pedophile.
Wait, I
Dude,
do.
what are you
do it all
doing?
again. Fuck you guys.
What are you
Fuck
doing?
you guys.
Going in there. You're a weirdo.
I will fuck you again.
Yo, was that guy a pedophile? Was that guy a pedophile?
No, yes,
He
that
said
is
that- yeah, he
that
was.
is the Lucifer.
Get the cross. We're gonna exorcise the demon out
No,
of here.
you go. So
In the name of
you,
Jesus
I
Christ.
want you to tell me something real quick.
Them.
In the
You're
name
saying-
of
you're
Jesus
saying
Christ.
that
What is that? What
Celestial-
that guy actually
back
does?
off.
I'm
In
sure
the
you
name
I'm
of
sure you
Jesus
Back
Christ.
That's a pedophile!
I'm sure this
The lot of you shut up.
No! No. This guy's a pedophile!
Why is he doing that?
I would like you to go over and clarify to me a few things real quick, if you don't mind actually talking.
minors. Come here.
Hey,
Minors. Come here.
There's a
Minors.
pedophile
Hello,
called Spicy
minors.
Whisper.
Oh,
Don't
minors.
I like that.
Oh,
Stay with
minors.
me. Stay with
Minors.
me.
Oh,
Hell no.
oh,
Hell no.
You're
yeah.
changed, and yet you're
You
changed,
groom
and
my
yet you're
kid
going over and
children.
doing that. So, the name is notorious. The fact I saw it and was able to recognize who that person was. And they're just using this account in public instances while using a voice changer to hide their voice, saying they're oh so sorry. Meanwhile, doing that. You want that to happen?